Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the QB List pregame kickoff live stream. I'm your host, Aaron Rader. You can find me on Twitter at RAY_DUR. And with me, I have my co-host, Matt Dean, rocking the Cowboys jersey. It still stings a little for me and my Falcons fandom from last week. Talked a little too much.
Cowboys?
I should know better than to talk trash at halftime with the Falcons leading because you know what can happen. I think we've seen plenty of instances of that. But Matt Dean, how you doing this morning? How you feeling about your Cowboys against the Seahawks?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't feel great about my Cowboys versus the Seahawks, but I feel great about my Cowboys last week. I know that. What a crazy game. I think the final was, 40-39?
I've erased all memory of that game, so I really don't know.
And, man. And now the Falcons are down Julio, which we'll get into. Yeah. How are you feeling about the Falcons' chances today?
Well, the Falcons are down Julio. They're down A.J. Terrell due to COVID. Luckily, as far as we know, nobody else has been infected. But one of our buddies made the comparison that watching the Falcons without Julio is like watching Bob Ross, but his son painting instead of him. So it does kind of feel that way. But I don't know. Calvin Ridley's been amazing this year. We'll see if he continues that against the Bears. The Bears defense is pretty daunting. Mitchell Trubisky's actually playing like a serviceable quarterback. So we'll see how it goes today. Might be 0-3. Dan Quinn might be out of a job soon. But I think we're going to – oh, go ahead.
I was going to say all these injuries are going to make for some interesting DFS plays, which we'll get into. But –
oh, yeah. We'll talk some DFS for sure. But right now there is a ton of injuries. It might be easier to go over the guys that aren't injured in the NFL. But we're going to try to hit all the ones that are out at least, and then some that are questionable. And at the bottom of the screen here, we got all those for you. Let's probably start, we kind of already hit on Julio. I think Calvin Ridley should be, a top 10 receiver, if not more, higher, with him out. But how do you feel about Russell Gage or Russell Gage? Well, it appears – there we go.
We're back.
So,
I don't know what happened there. Sorry about that.
So how do you feel about Russell Gage or, Hayden Hurst or any of those guys?
Yeah, I think from the receiver standpoint, obviously I think Gage could be the benefactor because whereas people are double covering Julio, allowing Ridley to get open so much, I think now those double teams might switch to Calvin Ridley and allow Russell Gage. Is there a third receiver there that you might look at? Or?
I honestly wouldn't, not at this point, but Justin Hardy could emerge with some shares there, but I'm not really picking up any of them right now unless I'm in a very deep league and I don't have anybody else.
Yeah, I think Hayden Hurst could have a big day though, and he's got a decent price on DFS as well. So
yeah, he's certainly somebody I think will see more targets with Julio out. But I think the second biggest name probably that we've got out again is Michael Thomas. He's looking to come back next week as far as the reports I've read this morning. So we'll see if that happens. None of the Saints receivers really looked that great last week without Michael Thomas in there. Emmanuel Sanders kind of flopped. Traquan Smith was probably the biggest benefactor aside from Alvin Kamara getting more work. Mm-hmm. Is there any receiver in particular that you like in the Saints with him out?
Yeah, it's looking like, Traquan Smith was the biggest riser last week, and he was talked up all offseason by Drew Brees. So, but the biggest is just fire up your Alvin Kamara, I think. Because Alvin Kamara, he's basically their entire offense this season. So, I know he's expensive in DFS, and like you said, we'll get into more DFS later, but he's someone that is probably worth paying up for at this point.
Yeah, and a lot of us started in our league DFS started Alvin Kamara last week, and Drew Brees has really looked kind of. I don't know. Drew Brees is really looking like he should have retired. I mean, he was already on the 1 foot out the door, and I just don't think his arm is there anymore. He only seems like he's throwing everything 5 to 10 yards out, but it's hard to say. I think, like I said, Kamara is about the only one worth starting, and that everyone else is kind of just a deep flex, in my opinion. 49ers had quite a miserable outing last week with injuries. Jimmy G's out today, Raheem Mostert, Tevin Coleman, also George Kittle. Also, they lost Bosa last week, so it's really looking pretty bleak for the Niners right now. With Kittle out, do you still want to start Jordan Reed with Jimmy G out, or how do you feel about him?
Yeah, I think it might even give you more reason to start him. I mean, big target over the middle. The seam routes, the quick slants from the tight end position. I think Jordan Reed could have a big day. And, I was thinking about this. This is a dilemma I had in my DFS was, Jordan Reed, and looking at their prices here on DraftKings. They have Hayden Hurst at 4,700, and then, Jordan Reed's all the way down at 4,000. So $700 savings. They are going against the Giants, who haven't given up a ton of points at the tight end position this year, but I think that's also because, people are just beating them other ways. I wouldn't say they're great against the tight end. So, honestly, I think I may like Jordan Reed as one of my maybe the top budget play here today. There's a couple we'll get into later, but he's pretty safe, I feel like.
Yeah, and I kind of feel the same way. And, with Mullins in, like you said, maybe it does give you a little bit more incentive to play Jordan Reed without Jimmy G in there. Usually backup quarterbacks want to have that safety blanket with the tight end and whatnot. So how do you like, which running back are you going with in the Niners? Because I'm kind of torn between Jerick McKinnon and Jeff Wilson Jr. So which one do you think sees the most work here?
Sees the most work, I think, could be, if we're going based on PPR, I would say McKinnon, because I think he has more explosive ability, and they'll want to use that out of the backfield running and receiving. Standard, it's tough because it looks like Wilson may get some more of the early down, and he seems to profile more as a around the goal line back, maybe. Maybe they use fullback instead around the goal line. I don't know, but I think I would play McKinnon if I had to choose.
Yeah, if I had to go safest floor, especially based on what he did last week, I think I'd go McKinnon. Jeff Wilson could be a sneaky one, though, in DFS, or, if you got a deep spot, you picked him up last minute or whatever, you're in a 14-16 teamer. But we got one question coming in from the godfather of Pitcher List himself, Pitcher List and QB List, Nick Pollock. He says, is Mecole Hardman an okay start in 12-teamers today? I'm going to say no with the news I've seen about Watkins. Watkins seems like he's probably going to play. They look like they used Demarcus Robinson more so than they used Mecole Hardman already. So I'm going to say no in a 12-teamer.
Agreed. Yeah, I think Hardman, he hasn't even been seeing, Demarcus Robinson's been seeing more snaps at receiver so far. And Hardman did have, I think he had a score last week, if I'm not mistaken. But if it's a return yardage league, I see Hardman. But even then, in a 12-teamer, there's better options. So leaving him on the bench on this one.
Yeah, agreed there. Moving on in the injuries, we got, let's see, who else is out here? I know A.J. Brown is out. He's looking like he may come back next week. I think it was a knee bruise. Corey Davis could be a pretty decent play. He scored a touchdown last week. Not a whole lot of volume there with Corey Davis, but if you need somebody, definitely I think Minnesota can be exposed with.
Jonnu Smith is looking like their wide receiver one right now. Yeah,
and Jonnu Smith too, definitely sees an uptick there. But yeah, hopefully A.J. Brown's back next week. Even in week 1 when he was healthy, Corey Davis outperformed him. So we'll see how that goes moving forward with him. You got Cam Akers out for the Rams. It's pretty much a mess there with that backfield. I don't know.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, to a lesser degree, Baltimore, honestly, because, Baltimore, we had week 1 was J.K. Dobbins with 2 touchdowns. Last week it was Mark Ingram with a long touchdown. Lamar Jackson had, 16 carries or something. Last week, I think he only had a single digits. And so, with the Rams, we thought after week 1 that Malcolm Brown was going to be like the second coming of Todd Gurley, and then last week, Darrell Henderson far outperformed him. So,
yeah, and it's rough. It's rough because Malcolm Brown did look like the most talented back week 1 for sure. But I just think that, he was given the opportunity last year. He did all right. But I think we've seen what Malcolm Brown can do. I'm ready to see what Cam Akers, if he can provide anything with all – he had so much hype coming out of camp and stuff in the offseason. Mm-hmm. Hopefully he can get healthy. But that's just a mess there. I don't really know, if I want to take a chance on Brown or Henderson at this moment, unless I absolutely have to. So another rookie running back that's out this week is Zach Moss. I think Devin Singletary could be in for a big day against the Rams. If you're going to beat the Rams, you got to run the ball. Their secondary's been pretty stout. So you saw that week 1 with the Cowboys with Zeke.
Yeah.
Of course, Devin Singletary obviously isn't Zeke, but I think given the volume today, he should do pretty well.
Yeah. Another guy that I wanted to talk about was someone who's not ruled out yet, but is doubtful, running up all the way to a game time decision. I don't believe I've heard you mention him yet, is Devontae Adams. They play the Sunday Night Football game, I believe, correct?
Yes.
And so what are you – if you're an owner of him, are you hoping that Valdez-Scantling or Lazard is available to have as a last-second alternative if they roll him out at, say, 7:30 tonight? Or
yeah, and as of right now, the last report I saw was that Devontae Adams was doubtful. So I think if I've got a decent receiving option in the 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock games, I'm starting them. I'm not holding out hope that Adams is going to play. If you do have an emergency option of Lazard or Valdez-Scantling and you're just going to wait it out, try to grab Valdez-Scantling or Lazard and then start them in case Adams doesn't start or Adams doesn't play. Even if he does play, I don't know how much of a decoy he's going to be or how much of he's really going to be a factor. So my guess is they hold him out tonight. So
yeah, and I agree with the last point you made. Last week he was in and out basically the whole game, and I think he only played 56% of snaps or something like that. And so he only had 3 targets. So after having 17 targets week 1. So even if he's in there, I don't see him putting up wide receiver 1, maybe not even wide receiver 2 numbers. So it might be, this was kind of was this week 1 we had this discussion about Cortland Sutton, right? It was like, is he going to play? Is he not?
And Mike Evans that week.
Yeah. So I think right now with the way the NFL is, we were just talking in our, league text thread this morning about how going from no preseason, limited training camps to full speed playing, I think this is the year to stay away from those guys that are these hamstring injuries and things like that are just lingering around. We see it with Julio. And so it seems like teams are being the safe route, like Julio being left out today. Week 1, it was Miles Sanders who could have played, but they were like, well, give him an extra week to heal. And now he's 100% and he looked great last week. So I think teams are trending towards being smarter instead of pushing it with their players, especially with these hamstring injuries. So, yeah, I'm good with setting him for another option.
Yeah, and like you said with the hamstring injuries, we've seen a lot of those. And I think that has to do with, no preseason, a lot of limited practice. I think these, trying to go from 0 to game speed, these receivers running full out, I think that's leading to a lot of hamstring injuries. And you never want receivers with hamstring injuries. It's easy to tweak. real easy to re-injure it. So, but there's a lot of that going on right now. But one guy who's not out due to injury is James White. Very unfortunate thing that happened last week, right before they played. Believe it was his family members that were killed in a car wreck. He's not playing again today, and I believe unfortunately, we kind of have to talk about the fantasy ramifications of it. But Burkhead could be a deep league flex. Actually, just saw him get picked up in our league. So for an owner that's kind of desperate, he's got like 4 or 5 receiver injuries. So
yeah. And, last week I feel like we didn't really see – it seemed like they went full on passing mode last week. And so, N'Keal Harry is like the next Randy Moss or with his target and things like that. So I don't know what to do honestly with that offense right now. Week 1, it was heavy rush. Week 2 is heavy pass. I think right now we can safely say that Cam Newton is better than we thought he was going to be this year in fantasy. I don't know. Are you ranking him like top 5, top 10? Where do you have him slotting in at?
I don't have him in top 5 really, but I mean, he definitely has that upside. Top 10, probably where he's fallen for me this week. But yeah, he looks a lot better throwing the ball than I anticipated. And I think that's what a lot of owners were kind of holding their breath for. Didn't know if he was going to be that. Didn't know if he could still just go out there and sling it like he used to. But he looked incredible the other night in primetime. So they should have won that game. Very vanilla call, if you ask me, at the end there, where you run up there, running out of shotgun with Cam. Everyone in the world knew that was going to be a potential call there. So
I think we got a question rolling in here. Sorry to cut you off there. Pick 1 wide receiver and 1 flex. Woods, Slayton, Deshaun Jackson, Kareem Hunt, and Joshua Kelly. I know what I'm doing at receiver, especially if it's PPR. I'm going Woods. And I'm between Hunt and Kelly at the flex spot. PPR, I go Hunt. Did I go Kelly? What do you think?
No, I'm going Woods for sure. I'm probably going Hunt as well. Kelly could have a big day. They're playing Carolina. I think both him and Eckler could have a good day. But Woods and Hunt or Woods and Kelly is my pick. Deshaun Jackson could surprise us. I mean, they don't have any healthy options at receiver, but I think it'll be more so their tight ends getting the work.
Yeah, and Miles Sanders is just going to have 45 touches, I think. So
for your sake.
Yep. Good question.
Continuing on here, we've got – I know Darren Waller and Josh Jacobs are questionable, but I believe they're going to play. I haven't seen anything really saying they're doubtful of missing.
Yeah, the questionable one sounded like Waller, which is surprising. Last week, I guess his back hurts from carrying everybody, but it looks like they should be a go. Always, re-injury risk, especially with how the season's gone so far. But I mean, you're not gonna sit Waller after last week. You're not gonna sit Josh Jacobs either. So if they're going, you're putting them in your lineup.
Yeah, definitely. Two other teams that got kind of bitten by the injury bug like the Niners did. The Broncos have Drew Lock out, Phillip Lindsay, Jerry Jeudy all out this week. Also, the Jets have Jameson Crowder and Brashad Perriman out. That's a team that's already got Le'Veon Bell out, and their offense looks anemic. So I don't really know. Maybe Chris Herndon is the main beneficiary in the Jets. And then for the Broncos, I really don't know if I trust Blake Bortles or, pretty much the only Bronco I want to start there is probably Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, and I was checking. I thought I'd read that Jeudy was expected to play, but did you read a?
No, I was just saying Jerry Jeudy. I was saying for the Broncos, Jerry Jeudy is out.
Oh, okay, he. I saw he was a game time decision, but did they come out with the update that he was officially out?
I read ESPN had that Jerry Jeudy was out this week, so I don't know if.
Okay, cool.
Jeudy, Lindsay, and Watt.
Regardless, I think that I already had Hamler lined up as a sneaky play this week. I think, he could be – his measurables are good. He's a great athlete. Noah Fant, I think, I'm really high on him. He's been consistent so far this year, no matter who the quarterback was. So, but yeah, Tampa Bay's defense, I think, is going to – from that game, if we're talking about who are we starting, I'm starting, Melvin Gordon, Noah Fant, and Tampa Bay's defense, because no offense to Jeff Driscoll, he had a good game last week, but I don't see that happening again because, I think Tampa Bay.
It's Jeff Driscoll.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that about wraps it up for the injuries, I believe. Unless you got a few more, but the only other notable one I know is Kenny Galladay's questionable yet again. Feel sorry for anybody that took him early.
Mid-second rounder in most leagues are second round. So, how many first, second rounders we lost so far? We had Saquon, McCaffrey, Galladay, Miles Sanders missed week 1. Julio now. It's been rough.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I thought last year was bad, but this may be one of the worst, one of the worst years I've seen for sure.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to, building depth on your fantasy teams, whether it's, trading a flex guy for 2 guys that could be, bye week guys or just depth guys. I just think it's, being active on your waiver wire for sure is important this year, whether it's fab or waiver order. But, man, it just seems like, you could be so high one week and then next week you lose 2 of your starters. And it's like, well, back to the drawing board, I feel like that's the way it's been in our league, at least.
Oh, yeah. Now we're going to move on to the rankings here, which is made by our editor, Eric Smith. He has all the positions ranked this week. He's got Lamar Jackson sitting number 1, which is probably a good bet with them playing the Chiefs this week. Russell Wilson at number 2 and Dak at number 3. So he's expecting Seattle and the Cowboys to be a shootout, it looks like. How do you feel about Russell Wilson and Dak today in that game, Matt?
Yeah, I feel, it's going to be a shootout just with the way the Seahawks are playing this year. I think they just decided, you know what, Russ, it's your year, buddy. He's looking like the leading candidate for MVP right now. I know there's draw for Lamar Jackson against Kansas City, and what should be a high-scoring game. But honestly, Baltimore's defense is so good. I could see, Baltimore handling this game pretty well with their rushing attack and then their defense. We saw the Chargers defense really bother Mahomes last week. So I honestly think that Russell Wilson is probably going to be the one that puts up the better numbers. I would have Russell Wilson on look at last week, right? Matt Ryan had no turnovers, which is not fun for me to say. Our defense is just playing so bad in the passing game. And, we gave up 40 points to the Falcons. Or 39 points, excuse me. And so I think Russell Wilson's up there. I just think that the KC game is going to be possibly a little more lower scoring than people are thinking it's going to be. And so, I got Russell Wilson number 1, Lamar number 2, Dak number 3. And after that, I think I'm pretty good with this ranking. So how do you feel?
Yeah, I think it could be – so far we've seen the Seahawks pretty much get shredded by Matt Ryan and Cam Newton. So I think it's safe to say the Legion of Boom is certainly dead in Seattle. It looks like their secondary is very beatable. So I think they're going to have to continue to let Russell Wilson just open it up and really start to just throw as much as he wants to, let him make plays instead of trying to, go with their old approach of playing defense and running the ball. So I think him and Dak are both poised for big days today for sure. That's probably my top 3 for this week.
Yeah. feel lucky if you have any of them, honestly. So I'm over here starting Tom Brady. So,
well,
and deciding if I should play Justin Herbert instead. So,
one guy I want to talk about. Seems like we keep talking about him every week, but it's Josh Allen. I've got him in a few leagues, but this week is really going to be the test of, can he continue what he's done? He had the Jets and the Dolphins the first 2 weeks. That's pretty easy to get some scores on. Before we talk about him, we got a question here from Eric, who, again, is our editor-in-chief. He says, is Gallup due a big game, or is he going to be behind Cooper and Lamb most weeks?
He's behind Cooper and Lamb, I feel like, right now. I mean, CeeDee Lamb is just, I feel like, a much more talented receiver. Gallup definitely, though, I feel like Dak's deep ball guy, but if they don't connect, he's having a rough game, as we saw week 1 and week 2. Week 1, he should have had a deep ball that was a kind of a BS pass interference call, but I'm feeling much more comfortable with Cooper and Lamb. And this is another guy, Gallup, who, was drafted pretty high. I would say in the top. He was getting drafted, around people like Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, a little bit after like people like Juju Smith-Schuster. So, yeah, another guy who's just been a disappointment this year. And, you start to kind of question. He's wide receiver too, is what they drafted him for. And so, yeah, you have to be concerned if you're a Gallup owner.
I think he's due a big game. In all honesty, something tells me this week's the week. Like I said, Seattle has given up like the most points to fantasy wide receivers. I think everybody in that offense could, have a big day today for the Cowboys. And like I said, I don't know. Can't go off gut feeling alone, but I think Gallup could certainly have a big one tonight. I've had a couple.
Very possible.
I've had a couple of questions, from just friends of mine and stuff asking me about Gallup, if they should start Mike Davis or Gallup today. And I've actually, you usually want to go with a starting running back. Chargers a tough matchup, but it's hard for me to sit Gallup this week if I've got him. But I understand if he's only like if he's your wide receiver too and he's burnt you a little, I understand if you want to sit him. But yeah, Josh Allen's back to that. They played the Dolphins, they played the Jets, now they're playing the Rams. So we'll see, if he can actually be a decent starting option. He's always going to have the good floor with the rushing ability, but we'll see how he can pass against an actual defense, unlike the Jets and the Dolphins. So, anybody else in the quarterbacks you really want to hit on? You want to talk about Fitzmagic a little from Thursday?
Yeah, I actually had him on the add player screen on my, our league because my quarterback position has been so shaky. And then I was just like, well, I already spent, $4 fab on Justin Herbert or something like that, maybe or something. But so I was like, I'll stick with the old guy one more game. Well, they're both old guys. Brady's just old. But Fitzmagic, one reason I like him, he's just so fun to watch. His energy level is always high. The beard is always on point. And honestly, you mentioned Josh Allen having an easy matchup against Miami last week. Miami really shut down Gardner Minshew. So a lot of people got burnt by Gardner Minshew this week who thought, it's always tempting to start the Thursday night guys. He was ranked 16th on this head of Ryan Tannehill, which most people, if anybody, which is normal. I'm not saying Eric did a disservice to anyone, right? But, I know one guy in our league started Gardner Minshew. I know a lot of people were high on Gardner Minshew, the stash versus the beard, and the stash lost to the beard. And people who started Gardner Minshew were not very happy with that outcome. So do you think he's someone who could turn it around, or is he just a inconsistent bye week filler for you?
Well, I will say this. I think, he didn't have DJ Chark out there. Like you said, it is Minshew, he's another guy who can run some too. They don't have, they got Conley and Keelan Cole and Chenault, who they're not DJ Chark, unfortunately. And I think he was missing that. It was a short turnaround. with a bad team. He did miss – Gardner missed Conley on a deep, 40-yarder that should have been a score. So that would have maybe changed things, changed the narrative and whatnot. I think he's, obviously I wouldn't trust him in anything short of a 14 or 16 teamer as my starting quarterback. If you want to start him in a super flex or 2-quarterback league, go ahead, but I'm not really trusting him to be my starting guy moving forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the looks like we're going to see some more Justin Herbert today.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. He looked good. We need to see Justin Herbert the rest of the year.
We do have a question coming in from Thomas Perdomo. Gallup, Slayton, or Marvin Jones this week?
Well, why did you have to give this question right after I talked bad about Gallup? Those three, all have been, Slayton had a boom game and then a not so boom game. Marvin Jones has just been and it looks like, Galladay is trending towards playing. And so respect that, Slayton. Well, yeah, I think I'm still going. I don't know. It's going to sound like I'm being hypocritical, I guess, but I'd go Gallup out of those three just based on the matchup and how high scoring it might be. But I would still play Cooper and Lamb over Gallup, and Slayton and Marvin Jones have had the option, just for the record.
Yeah, and I would probably go Marvin Jones if Galladay's out, but I'm definitely going Gallup out of those three if he's not. So
agreed.
Is my decision there. But yeah, Justin Herbert, unfortunately for Tyrod Taylor, he got his lung punctured by their own team doctor. So that's never good to hear.
Nope.
He was supposed to be given a pain injection for his rib and somehow punctured Tyrod Taylor's lung. So that is highly unfortunate and something that hopefully doesn't happen again.
That guy's looking for a job.
Yeah, these guys are paid big bucks, and that's not something that should be happening. But moving on to the running backs, Eric's got Alvin Kamara at number 1 here. I probably don't have any objections against that. One question before we move on to the running backs. Kenny says he must crush Justin Paradis, which is our one of our graphics guys. Shout out to him. They make incredible works. Our incredible graphics team. They do the sit-start pictures for me and Matt. Always looking good on Thursday. Cohen in a game Chicago plays behind, or Hunt in the game they lead. They are. So Cleveland's playing Washington this week. Cohen is playing us. I would probably go Cohen in a PPR just this week. Hard for me to trust. I think Washington could be – they have a stout defense, don't get me wrong, but they should be able to control the flow of that game and feed Chubb. So how do you feel about those two?
Man, I think Hunt is just way too good right now to be sitting for Tariq Cohen. I'm going Hunt all day because they're using him in just a variety of different ways. So out of the backfield, in the passing game and the run game, I think he has a high floor for someone that is technically a backup running back. We did see the coach for I think it was the coach for the Browns. He was mic'd up last week, and he said, "Don't worry, fantasy managers, we're getting the ball to Chubb." But don't worry, fantasy managers are also getting this Kareem Hunt. So I'm going Kareem Hunt in that one. We also had another Browns question right above that from Michael. Temperature check on OBJ. Yeah, he kind of had a decent week last week. Do you think he's trending back towards fantasy stardom, or is he just like, could happen, could not?
Yeah, he's not. As good as he looked last week, I'm not trusting him to do it every week. He's a guy I would have tried to sell high actually last week based off that game.
Yep.
And again, like I said, Washington's got a pretty good defense, so I'm not holding out hope that he does great today. But
Yeah, I think especially right now I think Landry's been dealing with that offseason hip surgery, coming back from that, and so now what? I think that OBJ is, if he scores, it's a good week. If he doesn't, he's going like 5 or 6 for 50. Kind of a flex kind of stat line. So.
Alex Tran says Wentz or Phillip Rivers today. I think I like Rivers against the Jets, especially he's got more weapons than he's down Paris Campbell and everything, and also Mack, but they've got Hines and Jonathan Taylor, Hilton, and a couple of guys. And Wentz is out there working with guys we've never heard of, Deshaun Jackson, and 2 tight ends. So Wentz has not looked great so far, and I trust the matchup Rivers has over Wentz's right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the stat that came out, I think the Jets have not allowed less than 2 touchdowns in quite a while to a quarterback, so Phillip Rivers is looking like a good bet.
For sure. And then we got another one. Am I crazy for starting Joshua Kelly over Kupp in a 12-teamer? Well, I know Matt's answer.
No, honestly, is it PPR, Ben? PPR, I'm going Kupp, but standard, I'm definitely going Joshua Kelly.
Yeah, again, I think Josh Kelly could have a big day against Carolina. So,
yeah, I'm sitting here, of course, making a DFS lineup, and especially in DFS, like if we're looking at the prices, I'm pretty sure Joshua Kelly's $5K and Cooper Kupp is $6,300. So, if you're looking at your flex play in DFS, even, I know this is a 12-teamer, so it's not, but if you're looking for a quality play this week in DFS, Joshua Kelly is looking really nice at his price. PPR second, yeah, I'll probably go Cooper Kupp then, just because, week 1 we saw Eckler get 19 carries. Last week Kelly got like 21 or 22, something like that. And he was very ineffective in those carries. He was under 4 yards a carry. I think the defense knows when Kelly's in there running the ball. So I think he saw a stack box like 65% of runs or something like that, versus Eckler, who had like a stack box like 15% of runs, because he's going to have Joshua Kelly. He did get a nice like 20-yard pass last week, but that's not really his game. His game is more downhill running. So I'm going Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, Ben says it's PPR, so
yeah,
I'm going Cooper Kupp as well. All right. Well, back to the rankings real quick. Speaking of running backs, and so he's got Kamara. I always pronounce it both ways, but he's got him number 1 this week against Green Bay. As we talked earlier, I think without Michael Thomas, he's really the main benefactor, the guy that's going to get the most work. So you think that's pretty much the case here? You think Zeke could outperform him this week, or?
Yeah, honestly, I think that I have. I don't have Zeke number 1. I think Kamara is the top guy here. I would actually probably rank this at running back Kamara. I don't know. Miles Sanders going to the Bengals is just so sexy that, he could legitimately have 30 plus fantasy points.
He's playing the Packers this week. Kamara, did you say?
No, Miles Sanders.
Oh, sorry.
I'm saying I may have Miles Sanders ranked higher than Zeke this week, which is sacrilegious coming from me. I would, almost sell my firstborn child to have Zeke on my team, but yeah, I think Kamara is definitely number 1, and then after that it gets a little, pick and choose, but yeah, play Miles over Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, and of course Eric has Jonathan Taylor number 3 against the Jets, but I do think Jonathan Taylor's definitely going to have a big game against the Jets.
Yeah, I think he was like almost the only one to receive a carry last week. I think Najee Hines had like 1 touch.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, everybody who spent big on Nyheim Hines is kind of licking their wounds this week, unfortunately. Colin Elslager says Aaron Rodgers without Adams or Matthew Stafford. I'm going Stafford against the Cardinals today in a potential shootout. Don't love Aaron Rodgers against Saints defense, pretty good, and I don't love him without Adams either. Could be the Aaron Jones show tonight, hopefully for me anyway.
Well, it's been the Aaron Jones show ever since I traded him to you. So, thanks for robbing me blind. So yeah, with no Adams, Aaron Rodgers is just. I mean, I think last week he had guys dropping balls all over the place. So, I'll go Stafford there. Kelly at 5,000 or Kenyon Drake at 6,000 in cash DFS. I think this is DraftKings. I mean, I'm saving $1,000 to pay up for a better defense or a better quarterback or a better. There's so many good quarterback plays today, whether it's Lamar or whether it's Russell Wilson or Dak. Like, you want one of those guys in your lineup at quarterback, and if I can save $1,000 the running back position, like that moves you from like a, Matthew Stafford to a Dak Prescott, then yeah, I'm all over that.
Yeah, I'm going Kelly as well today. Save that $1,000. Think it's a good bargain for sure.
Hope none of our DFS league members are listening right now, by the way.
Hopefully not. Yeah, because I made mine this morning, but I think they're all making theirs probably right now. We got Austin Eckler at number 8. I like his chances today as much as we're talking about Josh Kelly. He's had 19 carries in both games so far. Everyone's kind of forgotten about Eckler and talking about Kelly, but I think he could also have a big day. Josh Jacobs against New England. I don't know how I feel about him against that defense and injured today, but he's been certainly churning this so far these first 2 weeks. Anybody else? I think he's got Singletary down here at 22. I think he could finish better than that today, especially without Zach Moss. And like I said earlier, I think that's how you beat the Rams, is to run on them.
Yeah, do you think that the guy I've been interested in, especially after week 1 and then week 2, the tale of 2 games, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I mean, going against Baltimore, I think he could be sneaky good catching balls out of the backfield in that game, just with how much pressure Mahomes may be under based on what we saw last week. I think losing a couple of pieces on that offensive line has really affected Casey's offense, but I don't know that I may have Clyde Edwards-Helaire down below the likes of Chubb and Jacobs and Chris Carson this week. Another guy that I'm interested to see if he picks it up is Joe Mixon. It seems like every week he comes up, right? Because people spent I think his ADP coming into the year was like number 9 or something like that. And so people willing to have him. We talked about buying low last week. Do you still think he's a buy low right now, or is he someone who, is like panic mode right now?
And who was that? Edelman, you said? Who were you?
Oh, Joe Mixon.
Oh yeah, Joe Mixon. Sorry, I'm looking over my lineups as well. Mixon is definitely. He always starts slow. I've said this over and over the past few weeks. He always starts slow and then he gets going. Burrow is throwing the ball a ton, and Mixon could be the benefactor of that in PPR. And I think Joe Burrow should only continue to grow, and that offense continue to put up points the further on through the season we get here. So don't give up on Mixon yet. If you can find a Mixon owner who wants to give up on him, go ahead and try to buy him low right now for sure. We got Kelly or David Johnson. This is an interesting one. I'd probably still go David Johnson. Hard for me to tell someone to sit him. I love Kelly today. He's been great in the first 2 weeks as well, but I can't recommend sitting David Johnson for him.
Yeah, I think last week the David Johnson low week was just a game script thing. I think David Johnson is actually going to be a solid RB2 the entire year, with RB1 upside every week. So yeah, I'm going David Johnson there, especially in PPR, and then he follows up that question with Josh Allen or Mahomes. Talk about gluttony of riches this year.
I mean, usually I would always say Mahomes, but this week they play Baltimore, and we've seen what that defense is capable of. But I mean, again, Josh Allen this is his first real defense he's played, so hard to say in this one. I think I got to go Mahomes just because. I mean, how can you turn down Mahomes in prime time?
Right.
I don't know how you feel, but
I feel the same just because, I mean, even if they're down early, Mahomes can legitimately put up 3 touchdowns in a quarter and turn things around really fast. So we've seen that. It's not just a one-time thing. We've seen it in the playoffs and big-time games. We've seen it in the regular season and big-time games. So, yeah, Mahomes for me.
And then Kenny Hittenhove says, is David Montgomery legit after a decent week?
You know, I mean, I think he is trending that well. Cohen hasn't been super involved yet, as we talked about earlier, but I mean, I think they're going to try to take advantage to the air today. I don't know if you feel that way.
I don't trust David Montgomery. I mean, he got injured and left the game last week and then came back, but he hasn't shown me anything that really, has sold me yet. So I'm not buying it. I'm not trusting to start him unless you have no other option, but yeah, that's just my take on it.
Agreed. Yeah.
Let's see. So
hop over the wide receivers.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of interesting names, actually, a lot of values here for the wide receivers this week. We've seen a lot of people move up a lot. Some people I feel like should be higher than they are on, Eric's list here. The guy, not just because I'm biased, because I own some shares of him, DK Metcalf, but man, I think DK Metcalf's a top 10 play this week. He's got just crazy athletic ability. He burnt Stephon Gilmore last week. He had a long touchdown week 1. If he gets 7 or 8 targets, which, I think he should hit that number. He's been hovering around 6, I think, the first 2 weeks. I mean, sky's the limit for him. He's one of those athletic specimens that I feel like could break out for 150 and 2 touchdowns any given week with Russell Wilson slinging the ball, especially in this matchup. So, he's right there with Calvin Ridley, who I also think should be higher at 13 and 14. But what do you think about the prospects of Lockett versus Metcalf? And it's interesting to say that because in our, we always say our league, our 16-teamer that we've been a part of for years now, you have Lockett and I have Metcalf, so it'll be an interesting discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I love Lockett. It's hard for me to ever say Metcalf over Lockett. There's still times where Metcalf struggles with drops. I mean, I think you're fine with either one, especially this week. But I like Lockett more in PPR and Metcalf more in standard. Just really how it falls in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I know you said you view Metcalf as the true number 1, so.
Yeah, I just think, I think of Lockett as like, Brady's Edelman, right, of the past several years. And that's like 8 catches for 70 yards, which is a very good week, I just think over the year, as it goes on, I think Metcalf's going to keep getting better and better and more comfortable, and I just see him blowing up. But another one I want to ask you about is, do you think 13 is low for Calvin Ridley with Julio? And this is before the Julio, officially out. Julio is at 7. So would you, on an updated rankings, move Calvin Ridley up to Julio's spot at number 7?
Yeah, and actually Eric just came in, chimed in, and said he moved Ridley up to wide receiver 8 with Julio out. So
okay, yeah,
that's how he views it. That's how I view it. Right in that top 10. Could be in top 5, hopefully, for my sake.
Where do you put Russell Gage? How high do you like him?
Russell Gage, probably a top 25 option this week, maybe even top 20 for sure. Kenny Hittenhove has another question. Deontay Johnson or Juju, the real wide receiver 1 in Pittsburgh?
Deontay is the real number 1 in Pittsburgh. Hot take.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. They're both him and Juju have gotten pretty similar production here. I know,
except for the target department, which Deontay is leading in.
Yeah, I know with Deontay Johnson emerging as the outside threat, they were going to try to move Juju more so in the slot. I haven't really broken down exactly where everyone's snaps have been coming from, but seems to be working for the offense overall and for the fantasy production of both of them. So, my friend, this is actually my buddy Roberto. Shout out Roberto, used to be my old coworker. He says start 2, half PPR, Michael Gallup, Will Fuller, Russell Gage, Corey Davis.
Yeah. People keep bringing up Michael Gallup after I talked about him, right? Will Fuller, I just am so uncomfortable starting him because of, like, he strains a toe or something, you know.
And they're playing Pittsburgh this week, so I don't love that either.
I'm going Gallup and Gage.
I'm actually going to go. I mean, if it was full PPR, definitely go Gallup and Gage. I'm tempted to go Gallup and Corey Davis just for Corey Davis' touchdown upside. But I think if you got any sort of PPR, even half, you probably do have to go Gallup and Gage today.
Well, Gage has a touchdown both weeks, right? So.
Well, yeah, and I mean, as much as the Falcons have to throw it, you're probably going to have to go Gallup and Gage for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Jay Almighty says, do I start Valdez or Kupp at wide receiver 2? I have Sanders in my flex. I don't know if is that Emmanuel Sanders or Miles Sanders, because that's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, if it was Emmanuel Sanders, I'd sit Sanders. But Miles Sanders, yeah, I want to know who your RB1 is, lucky dog. But, yeah, I'm going even with Adams expected to, probably sit. I think I'm still going Kupp because, I mean, it's hard for me to trust Valdez. He said Miles Sanders, yeah. It's hard for me to trust one wide receiver over the other in Green Bay. And, like, honestly, the leading receiver could be Aaron Jones. So, Kupp, at least I think, he's going to have some boom weeks and bust weeks for sure. But I think just like you were talking about with Gallup, Kupp is also do a big game. So I'm going Kupp.
Wow, and he's got Henry, Mixon, and Sanders. That's quite a trio of backs there.
Yeah.
So I'm
definitely
starting all them. I'm probably going Kupp there. Yes, certainly. We don't know if Adams is playing or not, so definitely go Kupp. And let's see. That's probably about all the time we have to really hit rankings. We got 7 minutes till kickoff, so Matt and I, also have to get our lineups in. We try to help the people as much as we can, but we also, want to make sure I'm in 5 leagues. I know Matt's probably in 3 or 4, and he's making his DFS.
Yeah, I wanted to hit I like to talk about value plays for DFS right before lineups hit, just because I feel like tight end and defense is where you can really save some cash, for your positions. This week we talked about kind of the value plays at the flex and, position players like Kelly, Gage, even people like Deontay Johnson, which we just talked about, are cheap today. Basically, I think at tight end we're looking at, Hayden Hurst, Logan Thomas, Noah Fant is somewhat cheap. Mo Alley Cox had a decent week last week, and they play the Jets. Who are you looking at among that kind of group there as and actually Zach Ertz is only like 5,100 this week. So a lot of cheap names. Who are you liking at the tight end position as a value play this week?
Well, I love and hate this segment because we do DFS together.
Don't worry, my lineup's locked.
Jordan Reed, I like Jordan Reed a lot this week. He's pretty cheap. I don't remember his exact value. I have to go back into the app and see.
Yeah, he's like, a few more hundred than like Logan. I think Logan Thomas like 3,800 and Reed's like 4,000.
This is TP, and I got a strong suspicion it's probably my brother-in-law because he's asked me about Gallup all week. He's been ready to cut him. I've told him to remain strong. I'm going Gallup over Darrell Henderson this week. We seems like we keep having Gallup come up in these questions, but Gallup against Seattle, and hopefully he doesn't inevitably burn him again tonight.
Yeah, and then Ronald Jones, Mike Davis, Joshua Kelly need 2. Mike Davis, Joshua Kelly for me. I just don't trust that backfield in Tampa Bay right now.
Yeah, I'm going Mike Davis, Joshua Kelly as well, even in PPR.
And if you're looking for a value play as we are about to sign off here, you have the top guys like Indy, Tampa Bay because of their matchups. But I think a value play could actually be the Giants here against San Francisco because of the change, Jimmy G being out, the running back situation a little up in the air. So that's where you can save some money and get some upside somewhere else. So give me your lineups, people.
It looks like this news just came across that Julio being held out today was Dan Quinn's decision. So it looks like he could have played today, but Dan Quinn made that call, which is interesting because Dan Quinn's kind of pretty much coaching for his job at this point, and he'd rather protect the player in this instance. So one last question: Juju or Deontay Johnson, full PPR? Ooh, it's a tough one.
Yeah, and I think you'll be able to start both. You probably drafted Juju as your wide receiver too. And we also have a Deontay Johnson and James Conner. I like Deontay Johnson, I think, in both of these situations. If you can get Juju and Deontay in, also if you can get James Conner and Deontay in, I think that would be the ideal. But if you have to choose one or the other, I just think Deontay Johnson's upside is so good right now. He's getting like 10 targets a game, basically. So I'm a homer for Deontay right now, but you may think differently.
Well, we got almost 2 minutes till kickoff, so
we're going to get those lineups in.
Matt and I are going to sign off here, but do be looking out for we offer all kinds of articles and advice for people. We have our sit start that comes on every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. We're on Reddit those days. Come and ask your questions. We try to answer every single question. My staff and I and Matt. So come see us there. We've got betting articles, beating the spread. We got DFS articles. We got, Eric does our rankings every week. So we got it all at QB List. And one last question. This will be the last one. Full PPR, Gurley, Singletary, or Deontay Johnson?
Deontay.
I'm actually going Singletary just because Zach Moss is out today. So do with that what you will, Trey S.
Yeah, listen to the Cowboys fan, not the Falcons fan. They usually win.
I think that's about it, Matt. I forget your Twitter. I think your Twitter handle is
you can find Matt Dean QB List.
Yep. So that's where you can find him. You can find me at RAY_DUR. So give us a follow. Give us a follow on the QB List Twitter as well. And I think that's it, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Go Cowboys. And Trey, sorry you're a Falcons fan. I know it's rough.
Trey, we're in this together. See you, buddy.